or give me?
Yes, ma'am. Let me introduce to you, then you can start.
Yeah.
And I'll already join. Okay. So, good afternoon, one and all present here. Today we have a talk of Dr. Sipanna Saha. Let me introduce him, as all of you know also to her. Dr. Sipanna Saha is an associate professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at IIT Patna. She is a leading researcher in AI, machine learning, deep learning, especially in NLP, natural language processing, with a particular focus on multimodal information processing, biomedical information extraction, low resource language technology. She has authored more than 400 research publications in reputed journals and conferences like EMNLP, like those conferences also. She has published a lot of papers with significant contribution to NLP and AI research. Research explore how information from multiple modalities such as text, image, audio, and video can be integrated using deep learning and language models to address real-world challenges, including summarization, dialogue system, hate speech detection. In healthcare application also, she has done a lot. Sipanna ma'am is also senior member of IEEE Fellow and Fellow of IT. She has received numerous prestigious recognition. Today, her talk will highlight recent advances in multimodal NLP, demonstrating how this deep learning and LLM can effectively combine diverse data sources to build more intelligent and contest-aware AI systems. So, thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and join here. So, kindly you can start the session now.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for inviting me in this FDP. So I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I am audible also, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So thank you once again, and good afternoon to all of you. So today I am going to discuss about a very important topic, which is called the multimodal information processing. So nowadays, whenever we are solving some task in natural language processing, we are not only using the text data, but it is a combination of text and image and the video data. So that's why this is called the multimodal information processing. So recently we have started a research lab in IIT Patna called the Drisha lab. You know, Drisha means Drishti plus Bhasa. So Drishti means vision and the Bhasa means language. So this is a fusion of Bhasa and like language and image. Like how we can combine the text data and the image data together. So that is the main objective of our research lab. So today I will be showcasing you some of the recent works that my students are doing in the field of multimodal information processing. And I just would like to also mention that please do visit my webpage www.iitp.ac.in /Sriparna, and there is a resource page www.iitp.ac.in /Sriparna /resources.html. And in this particular resource page you can also download many data sets that we have already prepared for the Indian languages. You know, India is a multilingual country and there are many official languages, and my students are not only developing new algorithms, but they are also creating many data sets, many of the Indian languages, and those are also available like for downloading freely. So you can easily visit my resource page and download them freely. So now let me start with the concept of multimodality. You know, multimodality is a very important concept which many researchers are using in their day-to-day life, and this is somehow mimicking our real life experience. In our real life, whenever suppose there is a object and you have to take a decision about the object. So we are having multiple sensors in our body, like we used to see the object, we used to hear the sound of the object, we used to feel the texture of the object, we used to smell the odors of the object. taste the flavors of the object, and then come up to a decision. So we are using multiple sensors of our body to take the decisions about the object. Okay, this is called the multimodal information processing. So multimodal learning basically consolidates heterogeneous data from various sensors and data inputs into a single model. So here we are collecting data from multiple sources, and then we are combining those information, and then we are taking a decision about the object. So this is very similar to that in social media or in newspaper. Whenever in the social media we are writing about an event, we do not only write the textual information, but we also upload some images, sometimes a video clip in the social media. Like suppose yesterday you attended some birthday party of your friend, and now you want to write a description about that birthday party in your Facebook account. You will not only write the textual description of the event, but also you will upload few important images of the event, and also maybe a video clip of the event. So that way data in the social media is becoming multimodal. Similarly, the newspaper data, like the news reporters, whenever they are writing a news report, they are not only writing the textual description of the report, but they are also uploading important images and also some video clip of the important of the news. So that way the data, the news data or the social media data, or every the data is becoming multimodal. Okay, and another important thing is that image and text are complementary to each other. So some concepts we can better describe using text. Like suppose there are some many abstract concepts, like what is a freedom, what is gravity, or what is independence. If I will ask you to describe, then maybe you will prefer to describe them using text. But how a piano looks like, if I will ask you to describe, you will prefer them to describe them using image. So text and image are complementary to each other. And sometimes we take help of image to describe some concepts, and sometimes we take help of text to describe some other concept. So that way text and image provide us some complementary information. So my research lab called Risha in IIT Patna. So there are a couple of PhD students, MTech students, and the bachelor students. So all my students are working on many aspects of multimodal information processing. So we are collecting data, text data, image data, and the video data, and we are solving many different tasks of natural language processing. Like we are solving the multimodal summarization task. So here in the input side, we are considering the text data, image data, and the video data. And in the output also, we are generating a text summary, a image summary, and also a video summary. Similarly, we are also solving the reasoning problem of the language model. Like there are many language models are there, and these language models are capable of solving many language related tasks. Like they are capable of generating text, they are capable of generating summary, they are very good in writing essays, or they are very good in question answering as well. But whether they can also solve some complex task, like if you will ask the language model for solving the JEE advanced question paper, whether these language models are capable of doing that or not. Or if you will ask the language model to calculate your income tax, whether the language model is capable of calculating your income tax or not. So these are called the reasoning task. And recently, DeepSeek, a Chinese company, so they come up with the DeepSeek O1 model, and they told that this DeepSeek O1 model is very much capable of solving some reasoning task as well. So if there are some complex tasks, then this DeepSeek O1 model is also capable of solving this complex reasoning task. So then we are also solving the poem visualization problem. Like it's very difficult. Poems are very abstractive in nature, and poets write when it's very difficult to understand the Shakespeare written poem or the Rabindranath Tagore written poem. And there are many multilingual poems in Indian context, and it's very difficult for the children to understand the meaning of a poem. So is it possible to generate some meaningful images uh, or the depict the story written inside a particular poem by some visual storytelling? That is a task we are doing in association with Adobe. Then pharmacovigilance is another task where basically we are trying to identify the adverse side effects of a particular drug. So, like if you are suppose taking a drug and you are suffering from some adverse side effect, then we often use the medical forums or the medical blogs to mention about the adverse side effects of different drugs. So, we are collecting data from these medical blogs or the medical forums, and then we are extracting key information like the drug information, the severity information, the adverse drug effect information from the data, and then we are basically combining all the side effects of a particular drug together and then generating a summary. So some other important task of our lab is complaint mining. Nowadays we are purchasing products online like from Amazon, Mintra, Flipkart. There are many online platforms from where we are purchasing products. And if you are not happy about the product, then we are also writing reviews about those products. Okay, these companies are having some online platform where we can submit our reviews, and these reviews can contain the textual description as well as we can also upload the images of the defected product or the damaged product. Okay, if suppose there is a damaged product, we can also upload the image. So all these companies are receiving lots of reviews daily. Now it is not possible for them to manually scan through all those reviews. So they need to have a AI based system which can check all these reviews and categorize the reviews into positive and negative. And if there is a negative review, then we need to further go detail, and we need to understand whether that negative review is a complaining or non-complaining type. So all the negative reviews are not of complaining type. Okay, and also if suppose a person is complaining or complaining in a review, on which aspect of the product the person is complaining. A product can have many aspects. For example, a mobile phone has aspect like camera quality, battery life, color, size, the cost. These are the different aspects of a mobile phone. So maybe the person is happy about the cost, but the person is not happy with about the battery life. So person may complain about the battery life. So we need to do some fine grain analysis. We need to understand on which aspect the person is complaining. So this is called the aspect based complaint mining. Then cultural awareness of the language model is another task. So there are many large language models are in hand, and large language models are very good in text generation, and they are also very good in essay writing, or they are also very good in natural language generation, etc. But they are not good in whether they can also understand the culture of Indian culture or not. So for that very purpose, we have created some data sets. I will be talking about them. So my team has created some text-based database data sets, question answering data set, and also some multimodal question answering data sets. And then we have tested many language models and also visual language models, just to understand that whether the language models and the visual language models have Indian cultural knowledge or not. Okay, and also another important task that my research team is doing is misinformation detection. Fake news are nowadays very prominent, and their fake news are also written in multilingual context. So, given a fake news, can we detect whether what is the veracity or what are the causes? Whether the misinformation can also be multimodal. It is a combination of text and image. So, what is the which part is misinformation? Whether only the text part is misinformation or also the image part is, or a combination of both is the misinformation. So now let me start with the first task, which is the called the summarization. Summarization is a very traditional task in natural language processing, and summarization is a very popular task because here it has many applications, especially with the students. Before going for the examination, maybe they are not able to read the entire document or entire PDF. Maybe they can upload the PDF to a AI based tool or a summarization system, and the summarization system can simply give a 10 line or 5 line summary. Okay, and then that will be useful, that will save some time, and that way summarization systems are becoming very, very useful nowadays. And there are mostly two types of summarization system. One is called the extractive, another is called the abstractive. So extractive means that suppose in the original document you have 10,000 sentences. Now out of these 10,000 sentences, can we select only the top 10 sentences which are more informative or which are giving the most information about the document? So these top 10 sentences maybe can be used as a summary. So this is called the extractive summarization. And then we also have the abstractive summarization. So abstractive summarization means that the AI model has to understand the entire document, and then they have to write the summary in their own language. Okay. So abstractive summarization is more difficult because here they have to basically generate the summary in their own language. Now, we started working in the multimodal summarization when there were not many teams working in the multimodal summarization field. So started working in the multimodal summarization in 2020. And here the task is that in the input side we have a text document, we have a set of images, we have a set of videos, and we are applying some summarization technique, and then we are generating a text summary, we are generating few images as the image summary, and a video, or maybe you are selecting a video as the video summary. So this is the multimodal summarization system. And we also created the large scale multimodal multilingual summarization dataset, and this is the first of its kind Indian multilingual multimodal summarization dataset. And the dataset is having 1.1 million instances, and it is there are 20 languages present in the dataset: English, Chinese, Spanish, Russian, French, Ukrainian, Portuguese, Japanese, Tamil, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Bengali, Sinhala, Urdu, Pashto, Indonesian, Telugu, Punjabi, and Nepali. And this dataset we have crawled or collected from the BBC web news site. In the BBC, on the right hand side, you can see how the news look likes. There is a title of the news, there is URL, there is a date and the timestamp information. There are multiple images as a part of the news, and then there is a caption of the image, and then there is a small summary written by the reporter, and there is a body of the news. Okay, this is the how the BBC news looks like. So we have collected many such news from the BBC, and then we have some in-house annotators, and we have asked the annotators to write the summary of each news article. That way we have manually curated this data set, and this is the largest summarization data set for the 13 languages. So this data set is also publicly available in my web page, and this is the dataset paper only, which is published in European Conference on Computational Linguistics 2023. So next we worked on readers comment aware multimodal summarization. So readers, this is a new task comparatively. Recently, researchers have started working in this particular kind of summarization. Nowadays, whenever the BBC or the CNN news reporter is uploading a news item, they also want to make the system interactive. Like suppose a BBC news reporter or a CNN news reporter has uploaded a news item, they are also inviting many they are also inviting the readers to comment on the report. Because when maybe the reporter has written the report, maybe reporter has made some mistake while writing the report, or maybe the reporter is biased towards a particular political party while writing the report. So this way, if you will allow the readers to comment on the report, you can easily it will be more interactive, and also readers can comment on the errors on in the report, or it will also it will help in overcoming the personal bias. So this way, it will improve the engagement. So there is a dataset available called the RAMDS dataset, and this is a kind of text-based dataset available. This was not our proposal. This RAMDS dataset was already there, and this dataset is again available online, and there are 45 topics in the dataset, and you can see these are the categories of the topics: accidents and natural disasters, attacks, criminal or terrorist, new technology, health and safety, endangered resources, investigations and trials, criminal, legal, other. These are the various categories of data which are already present in RDMDS dataset. And for each topic, there is a human written summary. Okay. So now what my students have done is that for each topic, they have searched the relevant images in the internet and they have made a Google search, and then they have collected the relevant images after the Google search, and then they have added those images with the news topic, and they and my student has basically they have made the dataset multimodal, because in some cases maybe you will not be able to describe the concept by only text. Maybe if you can add some few important images, that will help you to describe the concept in a better way. This way we have made the dataset multimodal. So this is our CIKM paper, 32nd ACM International Conference on Information and Knowledge Management. In this particular paper, we have made the dataset multimodal. So you can see this is a kind of a dataset example how the readers' comments are helping in correcting the correcting the mistake of the reporter. You can see here the reporter has mentioned 57 people spend Christmas abroad, a cruise ship that has become stuck in the ice in a remote region of the coast of Antarctica, and rescue vessels are at least 2 days away. Australian maritime officials told ABC News. Okay, this is a report written by a news reporter, and the news reporter has described this as a cruise ship. But actually, in the news, in the reader's comment, the readers has mentioned that perhaps someone should inform Mr. Goldman on the difference between a cruise ship and an oceanographic research vessel. Having been on both these types of ships in my younger years, I found they have very little in common besides both being ocean-going vessels. So you can see that they have mentioned that the reader has mentioned that this is not a cruise ship, rather this is a oceanographic research vessel, and the reporter has made a mistake while reporting the news. So when the annotator is writing the summary, the annotator has considered the reader's comments into account, and the annotator has written a Russian research ship MV Academic Solarsky with 74 scientists, tourists and crew abroad issued a satellite distress call after getting stuck in. So what we have done is that initially we have made the dataset multimodal, and then we also identified that all the readers' comments are not useful. So better to categorize the readers' comments into three categories. So some readers' comments are really useful, and they are basically giving the same information which are already present in the document. So suppose you have the original document, and there are some readers comments which are reiterating the same information which are already present in the readers in the original document. So those comments are called the supplementary comments. Okay, there are some comments which are giving us some additional information which are not present in the readers document or in the original document. So those comments are called the complementary comments. And then there are some comments which are simply random or the noisy comments. Okay, before processing, before adding the comments with the document, we should basically remove those noisy comments. So this is the way basically what we have done is that we have classified the comments into three categories: supplementary, complementary, and retouched. And then sequentially, we have added, not all together, uh, basically we have removed the random or the noisy comments, and the supplementary or the complementary comments we have added with the original documents once at a particular time. Sequentially we have added, and then we have passed them through one LLM. We have used several LLMs like GPT 3.5 or the Bloom or the Flan T5, and we have given a prompt to these LLMs that please consider the original document and also please consider the comments, and now you generate a summary. Okay, so we have given this prompt to either GPT 3.5 or Bloom or Plant T5, and then this LLM is generating the summary. So this is the way we are basically using a two-stage approach. In the first stage, we are categorizing the comments into any of these three categories, and in the second stage, each category comment is added with the document, and then we are passing through the one LLM and we are generating the summary. So this is the our the user our proposed approach, we just accepted in the last year, IEEE transactions on artificial intelligence. So, but this RAMDS dataset are RAMDS dataset but is basically mostly is in English. And then I have already mentioned you how we have converted the RAMDS dataset into multimodal. But this RAMDS dataset or the multimodal version of the RAMDS dataset or this IEEE, this transaction paper, these are all were in English version of the reader's comment aware summarization dataset. So now we feel the necessity of developing some readers comment aware multimodal summarization dataset in the Indian context also. So my students have come up with this dataset called the Cosmic. So this Cosmic is the first of its kind readers comment aware multimodal Indian corpus. And here we have two tasks. One is the summarization and there is the headline generation. Okay. So my students basically have collected this dataset from the Daily Hunt. Daily Hunt is another news site, and from this Daily Hunt, they have collected crawled around 4,959 article image pairs, and there are 24,484 readers comments. Okay, and we have the annotators, in-house annotators, and they have generated they have written the ground truth summaries. Okay, and there are this Cosmic is available in 9 Indian languages. So Cosmic introduces a comment sensitive multimodal multilingual dataset for 9 major Indian languages, filling a gap in Indian language resources. And also, there are these are two important tasks: summarization and the headline generation. So Cosmic is basically introducing both the tasks. It is solving both the summarization task as well as it is solving the headline generation task. And the evaluation uses the advanced models like Llama 3 and GPT-4, which studies on filtering noisy comments and extracting valuable information from noisy images for effective NLG task. So this is the data set. You can see that we have compared with many other data sets like this M3LS is another data set which is again proposed by us. But in M3LS, there were only 8 Indian languages. And now Cosmic is our latest data set. The most advantageous part of M3 Cosmic is that here we have the original newspapers, the images, and also readers' comments. Okay, and there are two tasks. One is the summary generation, another is the headline generation. And the dataset is available in 9 Indian languages. So next, what we have done is that initially we have made the multimodal version of M3LS. Sorry, multimodal version of RAMDS dataset. I have already mentioned to you that some other researchers have come up with the idea of readers comment aware multimodal summarization dataset, and that was all in English. And then my students have basically gathered the relevant images from the internet, and that way you have made the dataset multimodal. Okay, that was the multimodal RAMDS dataset. And then we also found we also understood that in many cases in RAMDS dataset there are around 45 topics. Like for example, Australian wildfire is one such topic. And if you search with this topic Australian wildfire in the internet, in the Google, you will also not only get many images, relevant images, but you will also get many important videos in the internet. So can we add those relevant videos with the dataset as well? Like initially we have only added the image part of the relevant images with the dataset, and that way we have made the multimodal RAMDS dataset. Now we really want to add few important videos also with the dataset, and we want to have three modalities. Text was already present there. Now we have images, and also now we want to add the videos. So this way we want to have three modalities: text, image, and the video. So we enhanced data set called the VARAMDS. This is the extended version of the RAMDS dataset where video for each topic. We have also added few important videos as a part of the dataset. And also another important thing is that we now proposed a new model. Okay, See, there are many video language models are nowadays available. We have the Video Lava or we have the Video Llama. You can easily give this video augmented data set to any of the video language model, and you can ask the video language model to generate the summary from this video augmented data set. But what we have done is that we have proposed a new architecture, you can see, and this architecture is having 13 times lower number of parameters compared to the video language models. Like the video language models are very parameter heavy, they have more number of parameters, but this proposed architecture is having 13 times less parameters, but the performance is very similar to any such video language models. Like for example, you can see that we are generating the embedding from the image, we are generating some embedding from the videos. So we are using the traditional embedding generators for generating the embedding from images, and we are also generating some traditional embedding from the videos. And then we are putting some attention on the video because all the portion of the video are not important, or all the portion of the images are not important. So we are putting some attention concept on the image and also attention concept on the video. And then we have done a gated fusion. We have fused the image vectors because ultimately videos are also collection of frames. Okay, so video is nothing but the collection of frames, and each frame is nothing but the image. So that way we have now combined the video frames and the images, and we got some multimodal information tokens. And then on the other side we have the articles, and we have the text and the readers comments together, and we have combined the text embeddings. We have combined the these readers comments are converted into embeddings. Okay, so we have the comment embeddings. Okay, so we have combined this multimodal this image embeddings and the comment embeddings. We concatenated them. We have separated them by a separator, and then this combined embedding is passed through a augmenting language model. We call it comment based multimodal language model, which is a augmenting language model. And the article, we are also converting the article into a embedding, and this article is given to a anchor language model. Okay, article based unimodal language model is passed through a anchor language model. So now basically we are having a two language model. One is the augmenting language model, which is taking into account all the augmented information. Like in the augmented information means the image information, the video information, and the comment. These are the extra information that we have. And the anchor language model is having the original information, which is the text information of the article information. So this way we are having two language model. One is taking into account the augmented information, and the anchor language model is taking into account the article information. And now they are doing some cross attention. There are some cross attention between this. So we have the q is coming from the anchor language model, and the k and the v are coming from the augmented language model, and we put some cross attention between them, and then we are finally generating the summary. So this is the overall architecture, and as I mentioned that this architecture is having around 13 times lower number of parameters compared to any video language model. And this is also very efficient because it is performance wise, this is giving us the very much equivalent performance, very similar to any video language models, but having less number of parameters. So yeah, so these are some of the works in the summarization field. Now let me also discuss few works in the field of healthcare domain. Okay, so in the field of healthcare domain, some students of mine are also doing their PhD, and they have we are also building some in-house small language model, particularly focusing on a particular domain. You know, whenever you are focusing on building a small language model, you need to focus on a particular domain, because small language models are mostly domain specific. So here I will show you how can we develop a small language model for the animal sciences or the veterinary sciences. Okay, and we named this as the VET LLM. So for building a VET LLM, we have followed three steps. One is the pre-training, then the instruction fine-tuning, and also the safety alignment. You know, for the pre-training purpose, we have collected a huge amount of corpus or huge amount of data from different, animal science related books or the journals or different web pages. So whatever data is available in the internet, like we are collected around 3 million veterinary documents available in the web pages, journals, and the ebooks. And also for the instruction fine tuning, we have collected around 500K data, and we have introduced many tasks like reading comprehension, text summarization, treatment or disorder reasoning, rationally generation, role based dialogue generation. So these are the many tasks that we have introduced for instruction fine tuning. Okay. And for the safety alignment, what we have done is that by following the American Veterinary and Medical Association AVMA principle, so we have created around 3,000 unsafe prompts. Unsafe prompts means that because it is a small language model, AI based language model, so it should not answer any unsafe prompts or unsafe questions. Okay, whenever you will give some unsafe question, it should provide an answer that, see, I am a AI model, I will refrain from answering these unsafe questions. So by violating the American Veterinary and Medical Association's principle, we have created 3,000 such prompts, and then we have fine-tuned the model using these 3,000 prompts. And each case, the answer will be that I do not know the answer of these prompts. And you can see that when we are comparing our VET LLM, there are two versions of the VET LLM, 1 billion version and also the 3 billion version. So number of parameters are either 1 billion or the 3 billion. And when we are comparing our VET LLM with the existing model like Quen or Llama or the Gemma, these models, as our this small language model is pre-trained and the instruction fine-tuned on animal sciences, so for the animal science related queries, they are performing really good. So there is around 5% or 7% performance improvement for different tasks related to animal science related queries. And also when we have done the safety alignment, mostly this model is very safe to be used. So if you will give it any unsafe queries, it will always refrain from answering those unsafe queries. So this is the data curation pipeline, how we are curating data. So mostly from the pre-training part, pre-training, that most of these language models are pre-trained in a semi-supervised way. Like we have to pretend by using by method that mask language modeling or the next sentence prediction. So either the model has to predict the next sentences, or you can mask few words in a particular sentence, and then you can ask to predict those mass tokens. Okay, these are the two objectives that we have used, and by using these two objectives, we have pre-trained the small language models. And for the instruction fine tuning, we have used many tasks like causal reasoning, role based interaction, text summarization, multiple choice question reasoning and explanations. These are the several tasks that we have introduced, and for that we have mostly initially manually curated. There is an animal doctor in our team also, and he has created a few samples of each task, and then we have given these examples to GPT, and we have asked GPT to create some similar kind of patterns for the same task. Then synthetic data generation, we have used the synthetic data generation, output task specific samples we have created. And finally, there is a human validation. So all the samples generated by the GPT are manually verified by the that animal scientist doctor. So these are the three stages that we have followed. So we have the pre-training, instruction fine-tuning, and also the safety alignment. So, three stages we have followed to check that the quality of data is correct. And and then basically these are some of the results. So you can see that VHLLM, there are two versions. One is the 3 billion version, another is the basically one is the 3 billion version and another is the 1 billion version. And in both the cases, so in both the cases, we are getting around, around 10% improvement compared to Llama family or Gemma family or Quen family or the Phi family. So this is much improved version. So next, this is our this year ICML paper. So in International Conference on Machine Learning paper ICML. So what we have done is that there are many industries which are promoting that they have developed some medical LLMs. Okay, there are many medical LLMs are now in the market. Or how trustworthy are these medical LLMs? So if we give this medical LLM some query in multilingual setting, like suppose we ask a question in Telugu language or in Tamil language or any low resource language like Assamese or Bodo or Saithali. So whether these medical language models are also trustworthy. So we have done a very detailed evaluation of the trustworthiness of the medical language models in multilingual setup. So basically this is our entire contribution. So you have selected, 6 domains: patient conditions and healthcare, preventive healthcare, diagnosis and laboratory test, pharmacology and medication, surgical and procedural treatments, emergency medicine. These are the, 6 domains that we have selected. And there are 5 verticals of trustworthiness that we have considered. One is the robustness. Robustness means that each time whether it is giving the same answer or not, so whether there is any consistency in the answer or not. Or if suppose the model is trained up to December 2025, and now if suppose we are giving a data of a very recent drug which is released in April 2026, whether the model is refraining from answering the about the drug or not. So what will happen if there is out of distribution data which is not present during the training time? Then fairness means that suppose if you are changing the in the prompt, you are giving some information about the gender or the race or the religion about the patient, whether there is any change in the output or not. So whether there is any biasness of the models in terms of gender, racism, or the religion of the patient. And then privacy means even if in the prompt you are trying to provide some information about the private information about the patient, whether the model is capable of keeping this information private or not. This is the privacy. And the safety is that whether the model is able to generate some toxic, if the model is capable of generating the some toxic content or exaggerated safety, like if it is capable of generating any kind of hate content or the toxic content during the output or not. And then truthfulness is that how may or what is the hallucination rate of the models. And even if the model does not know the answer, whether the model is refused to answer or not. So this is the truthfulness. So these are the 5 pillars of trustworthiness against which we have evaluated many models like GPT-4, Gemini, Quen, DeepSeek, Llama, MaidLlama, OpenBioLLM, the Alta medical models. So we have evaluated many of the generic models and many of the medical language models. And we have selected 15 languages. There are many African languages, many Indian languages. So we have selected 15 languages. And the data sets we have created, because in order to test these 5 verticals of trustworthiness, we need to create question answer pairs of this nature. So in order to create the question answer pairs of this nature, we have created data sets from the Medline Plus and also from the FDA. And in Medline Plus, you will get the web pages of web pages covering information about drugs and the diseases in various languages. Like the web pages are available in many 15 languages. That's why Medline Plus is very popularly used. And FDA is also another good source of data. So we have mostly used the Medline Plus and the FDA as the data source. And then I will now showcase you how, using GPT 3.5, we have initially created question answers covering these 5 pillars of trustworthiness: robustness, fairness, privacy, safety, and truthfulness. We have created a huge number of question answer pairs, and then we have translated those question answer pairs into these other 14 languages. Okay, and our metrics of evaluations are refused to answer. For example, in case of safety, or in case of in out of distribution data, it should refuse to answer. what is the toxicity score, or leaky rate, like how much privacy information it is releasing, or similarity score, like in case of robustness, like if you are changing the prompt, then also it should give you the same answer. So these are the several metrics that we have used to evaluate the performance. So this is the construction, dataset construction process. So mostly, in Medline Plus, we have the English passages and the corresponding multilingual passages are also available. That's why Medline Plus is very popularly used for creation of such dataset. So we have taken a English passage, and then initially we have asked a medical professional to curate some question answers covering each aspect of such trustworthiness pillar. Okay, considering each aspect of trustworthiness pillar, the medical professional has created some question answers from the English passage. Okay, and now showcasing these question answer samples, we have basically created more number of samples by using GPT 3.5, and those are manually verified by the doctors. And now what we have done is that we have the English passage and the corresponding multilingual passage, and the question answer pairs already prepared in English. Now we have done a translate, we have applied again LLM to translate those question answer pairs in the other 14 languages, and we have done the grounded multilingual samples. What do we mean by grounded multilingual samples? While we will be doing the translations, the vocabulary or the words should be considered from the multilingual passage only. So those should be from the multilingual message of Medline Plus. So this way you have done a grounded translation, and all the translations are verified by the doctors. So this is our, this is basically our major trends. So basically you can see that proprietary models consistently perform based across most trustworthiness dimensions, and the large open weight models show strong reasoning and robustness but weaker safety alignment. Small models are not really good, and domain specific medical language models do not necessarily outperform the general models. And also for the as the language resources, like when you are going for the low resource languages, the performance degrades. Okay, so the performance is much higher for the English, Spanish, or the other high resource languages, and when you are considering the low resource languages, the performance degrades. So next, let me now talk about some of the works in the cultural domain. So if you, for example, you see this work which is called the Sanskriti. So in the Sanskriti paper, this is just published in the last year ACL. So ACL is the Association for the Computational Linguistics. So we really want to test whether the language models have good understanding about Indian culture or not. Okay, because already we know that language models are very good in text generation, summarization, question answering, many classification tasks. They are extremely good. But now researchers are investigating, and especially the NLP researchers, they are trying to understand whether language models are good in understanding the cultural nuances or not. Especially if you see the India, in India there are around 26 states, and there are many eight union territories, and each state is having their own unique culture. So we basically created a very fine-grained data set called the Sanskriti, and there are four types of questions: association prediction, participants identify the culture reference in the statement. There are 5,454 questions. In another type, we are trying to predict the country. Participants determine the country based on the statement. There are 5,563 questions. Then general awareness prediction, participants formulate factual questions, 5,449 questions. And in fourth type of prediction, state prediction, participants identify the specific Indian state reference in a statement. There are 5,387 questions. So in total, we have curated 21,853 questions, and in Sanskrit dataset, all the questions are in English. Okay, so you can see this is the thing that we are able to cover all the Indian states. Okay, some states have having lower representations. For example, from Jammu and Kashmir, we have less number of questions. Okay, but some states, like you can see Bihar, or Odisha, Rajasthan, we are having very good number of or some south Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, we are having very good number of questions. Okay, and we have covered these aspects of culture, rituals and ceremonies, cultural common sense, history, tourism, cuisine, dance and music, costume, language, art, festivals, religion, medicine, transportation, sports, nightlife, personalities. These are all the fine grained aspects of culture that we have considered in our dataset for each state. And this is the word cloud in our data set. And then we have tested many existing llms, big llms, and also some small llms, and also some Indian specific llms, because openhati or the Sarvam, they have released some Indian specific llms also. So we really want to test whether the Indian llms or the general purpose llms like Llama or GPT or the Gemini, Queen, all these models have good understanding of Indian culture or not. Like, this is also very important, because if we want to use these LLMs for tourism purpose of India, or in the recipe generation for India, we really need to understand their cultural knowledge. So now then we worked on the multimodal version of this Sanskrit dataset. So the Sanskrit dataset is mostly written in English, and it was on the textual dataset only. So then we have also converted the dataset into multimodal format. Okay, Sanskrit was 21,000 questions written in English. So next, what we have done is that we have made the dataset multimodal. So now we are showing an image, and then we are asking a question, and there are four options for each question. So the questions are again multiple choice questions, but now this is a kind of visual question answering. So, and also the initially the questions are prepared in English, but then questions are also translated into many languages like Hindi, Gujarati, Malayalam, Tamil, Telugu, Bengali, Marathi, Punjabi, Odia, Assamese, Urdu, Kannada, Konkani, Sindhi. So these are the various languages where we have translated the dataset. And here again we have considered the fine grained aspects of culture, history, rituals and ceremonies, cuisine, costume, language, art, festivals, dance and music, tourism, religion, medicine, transport, personalities, sports, nightlife, cultural common sense. These are the very fine grained aspects of culture that we have considered in our Drishtikon dataset. So this is some examples from our dataset. Like, suppose we are showing this picture, and then we are asking which region of India is known for its unique ritual performed on the banks of the river Ganga, which is shown in the given image during festivals and gatherings. Okay, and there are four options: West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar. And the right answer is basically Uttar Pradesh. और we have also translated the question into Hindi. भारत का कौन सा क्षेत्र गंगा नदी के नटी पर त्योहारों और समारोह के दौरान की जाने वाली अपनी अनूठी रस्म जो दी गई छवि में दिखाई गई है के लिए जाना जाता है. ओके, ऑप्शन सर पश्चिम बंगाल, तमिलनाडु, उत्तर प्रदेश एंड बिहार. So then you can see another example, like which state of India known for its rich cuisine depicted in the given image offers a culinary experience that reflects the simplicity and earthy flavors of its local cuisine. So it is referring to some litti chokha, and the options are Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Punjab, and Bihar. Okay. So this way we have made the visual. This is now a visual question answering. So always there is a image, and also there is a question related to the image, referring to the image, and then there are four options, and the model has to select from one of the options. And now we have basically tested all the visual language models, and also some of the all the visual language models, and also some of the Indian. There are some Maya, and some of the visual language models specifically trained on the Indian data. So that also we have tested. So these are some works that we have done in the last year only to test the cultural knowledge of the existing LLMs and the visual language models in the Indian context. Now again coming to the healthcare domain, one of my student is doing PhD and she is a Prime Minister Research Fellow, and she is working in the domain of pharmacovigilance, which is a very exciting domain. Because nowadays we are taking many drugs either with prescription or without prescription, and we often suffer from many side effects of the drugs, and we used to write about the side effects in many medical blogs or the medical forums. These medical blogs or the medical forums are very popularly used in western countries, like in Europe or in USA. People used to discuss about their medical problems, or in the medical blogs or the medical forums, where they also used to discuss about the side effects of the drugs. So the practice of monitoring the effects of medical drugs after they have been licensed for use, especially in order to identify and evaluate previously unreported adverse reactions, is called the pharmacovigilance. Okay, there are many steps in this: detecting, evaluating, comprehending, preventing, and the drugs. Okay, so what we have done is that we have worked in the cancer pharmacovigilance, because cancer patients are taking many drugs and they are suffering from many side effects. And they used to report about the side effects in the medical blogs and the medical forums. So we have collected all those posts, and then we are extracting the important information from the post, and then we are grouping the post based on the drug names. Okay, and then all those posts are given to a summarization system, and a summarization module can generate a summary of all the side effects for a particular drug, and that summary can be given to the drug company, and the drug company can revisit the composition of the drug and can refine the composition. So we basically created the first of its kind data set for cancer pharmacovigilance. We collected the data from different social media, where we basically first created a list of all the cancer drugs, and using this list we have collected all the posts which mention about these cancer drugs. Okay, and then you can see this is a two-stage approach. In the first stage, given the post, we are extracting some key information by using a ATMBA transformer model. We are basically extracting some key information like which drug is mentioned in the post, what are the adverse drug reactions which are mentioned in the post, and also what is the severity level, whether the severity of the adverse drug effect is mild, or it is highly severe, or it is moderately severe. What is the severity level that we are extracting? And then we are basically grouping all the posts which are related to a particular drug. So suppose the drug is Doxil, then there are many posts which refer to the drug Doxil. So we group them, we cluster all the posts based on the drug name, and then basically we are summarizing all those posts which are related to a particular drug name. Again, we are using a transformer module to get the summary for each drug name, and then this summarization information is given to the drug company, the Doxil's drug company. Okay, and basically the drug maker, the Doxil drug maker, can revisit the composition and can check if they can reduce some they can redesign the composition so that the side effects can be reduced. So this is our first approach, which is published in European Conference on Information Retrieval, ECIR. Here we have proposed this textual data set. Here we are mostly collecting the textual post where people are only writing the textual description of the side effects. This is a two-stage approach. In the first stage, we are extracting the key information. In the second stage, we are performing the drug-wise summary of different posts. And then we have also modified the the summary, because there is a nowadays, whenever a large language model is generating a summary, you can fine tune the summary by giving some human information. So human can refine the summary, so there is a feedback given by the human. So suppose if you will change the parameter of the large language model, the large language model will generate different types of summary. Large language model has many parameters like k, p, and the temperature. If you will vary those parameters, you will get different types of summary. And now a human annotator can rank those summaries, and this rank information can be given. This feedback MP can be given to the some the to the LLMs, and by using the reinforcement learning, we can fine tune the LLM so that we can generate good quality summary. Okay, so this is called the direct preference optimization. So by using the DPO based method, we can fine tune the summarization further. Okay. So this is the key takeaways. Results show that the proposed model outperforms all other baselines in the group summarization task. Automated retest reveals substantial performance improvements with the implementation of DPO, as evidenced by the ablation study. Omitting the two-step process that includes ADE information extraction results in a substantial performance decline, with a maximum row score drop of 69.75 for the T5 large and a minimum of 32.06 for the Zephyr. So next, what we have done is that we have also seen that whenever we are suffering from some adverse reaction, suppose there is a hair fall, or there is a skin rash, or there is a redness in the mouth. Okay, if suppose some of the adverse reactions are external, whenever the patient is writing about the adverse effect, they are also uploading the images of the adverse effect. Okay, in many cases the adverse effects are external. We can easily upload the images, and we can easily put those images in the with the description. So we created the multimodal adverse drug reaction and the summarization dataset enriched with the visual cue annotations. And then we proposed a multitasking. We basically extended our previous approach only. Now the previous approach can not only handle the textual data, but also text plus image data together, and we are generating some multimodal summary. In the previous approach, we were only generating the textual summary, and that was refined by using the DPO based approach. But now we are generating some multimodal summary. In the output, we have some text summary and also have some image summary, and this summary. So basically, this is our main contribution. So this is the data set. You can see that the MMCARDS, the last is our data set. There are around a 1800 post that we have collected, and the data set is written completely in English. And there are many disease, mostly it is cancer specific, because mostly we are searching with the cancer related drugs, and it is multimodal, and many adverse reactions are specified in this particular data set, and we have mostly collected from the different healthcare forums. And this is the statistics that of the dataset. There are number of unique drugs mentioned in our dataset is 782. Number of images for visible adverse reactions are 500. Average summary length in words are 198. Maximum summary length is 519. Minimum summary length is 43. Some posts are very small, so their summary is also very small. Average post length is 1257 number of words. The maximum post, some posts are very lengthy. Some people are writing in detailed manner. So some posts are lengthy as containing 7,326 number of words, and some posts are as small as having only 103 number of words. And you can see some of the images that we have collected, like mostly these are the different organs or the which are present in the images: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and the others. So in eyes are present 16.4%, ears images are present 3.9%, maybe there is a redness in ear. Nose, there is a swelling in nose, 8.75% images are related to nose. Tongue also 13.6%. skin rash, skin irritation. So most of the images are related to skin only, and there are some others images like knee or the leg related images, etc. So you can see one example, two of the doxycycline IV got one doxycycline left first one. I ended up with terrific oral trash and a nasty rash. So here there are two drugs mentioned. Severity is horrific. Horrific means it is terrific. And there is a AD. There are two AD. One is the oral trash, another is a nasty rash. Stage approach, but now our post are having image plus the text, and then we have basically you can see this is the patient's post are having images and the text, and then we have done an ablation study, like if you were generating a summary with images and the without images are also giving us more information which are not present in the text. So images are really helpful. So you can see that you are in the ablation study, when we are adding the image, like we have added this green portion, the rash is widespread, red and blotchy, covering the upper body, including the shoulder and the back, with a diffuse texture and signs of inflammation, but no freckles visible. So this way you can see that we are adding some more information which is collected from the image only. So these are the performance by different models for generating the summary. So this is our proposed approach, MMAPF, which is a two-stage approach, and these are some of the human evaluation. So human has evaluated the summaries based on some manual evaluation scores, and our scores are much higher compared to other language model based scores. So these are the key takeaways. That results show that the proposed model outperforms all other baselines in the multimodal summarization task. Automated tests reveal substantial performance improvements with the implementation of DPO. So direct preference optimization really helps in improving the summary quality. So when you can see from the here results that when you are only considering the textual text and for generating the summary, so that is not giving us meaningful information, but when we are adding the image also, then we are getting more meaningful information. So now let me discuss about some works that we have done in the poem visualization. Poem visualization is a very important task and is a very new task. People have just started working in this domain, and we are the very first ones who have started using the diffusion models in interpreting the meaning of the poem. Poem is a very abstract entity, and when the poets are writing the poems, they are writing in a very abstract way. Okay, and it's very difficult to understand the meaning of the poem. Okay, especially for the children, it's very difficult to understand the meaning of the poem. So these has a huge implications in the educational sector. So basically, in order to, if we can elaborate the poems using some visual storytelling, maybe it will help the children in understanding the poem in a better way. So what we have done is that we have proposed many models. In the first approach, we have firstly generated a summary from the poem. So the poems are very lengthy, so we have given the entire poem to a large language model, and the large language model is generating a summary. Now this summary is given to a diffusion model, and the diffusion model is generating an image from a single poem. Okay, now, so this is the very fast approach that we have done, which is a very naive approach. So here our main contribution was, how can we generate a very efficient prompt to generate a very good summary of the entire poem. Okay, we have done the prompt refinement. So it's not a single prompt that we have used to generate the summary. Rather, we have kept on refining the prompts. So initially, we have started with a single prompt, and then based on the generating the summary, we have kept on improving the prompt by using the user feedback. So that is the approach POKey. This is an algorithm to extract we have extracted three key elements from the poem: emotions, visual elements, and the themes. And by extracting these three key elements, we have generated a prompt. And by using this prompt, we have generated a summary from the poem. And then the summary is given to the diffusion model. And then the diffusion model is generating a image from the poem. So like here you can see that these are the different poems, and Five Little Ducks, Polly put the kettle on, Pussycat, Pussycat. And as basically we are generating the three elements, the emotions, key elements, and also the themes, and then we are generating the prompt, and we are asking that there is a prompt refinement, continuous prompt refinement. That's why our summary is very, very effective. And this summary is able to capture the key information present in the poem. And when we are giving this summary to the diffusion model, the diffusion model is able to generate a very good quality image compared to the images without prompt tuning or images without summarization. So when you are simply feeding the entire poem to the diffusion model is not able to understand the appropriate meaning, is not able to extract the appropriate meaning from the poem. Or if you are not doing the prompt refinement, then also you know that the model is not able to understand the appropriate meaning from the poem. But with the prompt refinement and from extracting the three key elements from the poem, we are able to generate good quality images by the diffusion model. This was our first paper. In the second task, what we understood is that maybe a single image from each poem is not enough. Okay, when we are trying to understand by a child the appropriate meaning of the poem, we really, because in a poem there are many script changes or the plot changes. Sometimes a poet is changing the plot, and the poet is also changing the objects or the description of the objects inside a poem. Okay, there are several plots inside a poem. So you should not use the single image to depict the visual narration of the entire poem. Rather, you should break the poem into different meaningful chunks, and then for each chunk you should generate a meaningful image. Okay, so in our next work, which is just published in the last year European Conference on Artificial Intelligence, we first chunk the image into meaningful segments. So based on wherever, suppose there is a poet is changing the plot, or the poet is changing the number of objects, or there is a change in the emotion, or there is a change in the plot, we are segmenting the poem into different chunks. Okay, and then each chunk is given to the to an LLM, and the LLM is asked to generate a summary for the chunk, and then that summary is given to the diffusion model, and we are generating an image. Now as there are multiple chunks, you will be getting multiple images. But how to keep consistency among the images? Because you want a storytelling, so the images should be consistent among each other. So for that we have used the consistent self attention. So basically somehow the objects which are there in multiple images should be the same. So that's why you have used the concept of consistent self attention. Okay, so this is our proposed architecture. So we have segmented the poem into multiple chunks, and then for each chunk we have generated a summary, and then the summary is given to the image generation module, and the image generation module is generating the images, and it is generating the multiple images which are consistent to each other by the use of consistent self attention module. So you can see these are the second column, second row denotes the images generated by our proposed model. Okay, in the first row denotes the model, the images which are generated by the proposed model, where we have not applied the self attention, consistent self attention. But the second row denotes the images which we have generated by using the consistent self attention module. Now this is the next what we understood is that maybe till now we are only working on the English poems, but we really need to do something so that the diffusion model can also understand the Indian poems, because Indian literature is also very rich. There are many interesting Indian poems. So how can a diffusion model can generate beautiful images for the Indian poems? So for that we have generated the translation and image generation module. In this is a phase by phase generation. In the first, we are generating a semantic graph. We are constructing a semantic graph from the Indian poem, and then we have translated this poem into English. Okay, there is a translation module which is translating the Indian poem into English, And then from that Indian poem, from that English poem, now we are generating multiple images depicting depicting the story inside that particular module. So this is the translation and the image generation module. So you can see these are the beautiful images that our model is generating from the Indian poems. And in the last work, what we have done is that, we have now not only created, we are manipulating now we are giving more power to users. Now users can manipulate which objects they want in the output images. Now here also images are segmented into multiple chunks, and for each chunk we are generating a image. But now the users, depending on their need, they can manipulate which object has more priority. So user can set a priority to each object. For example, here you can see in the left hand side, user has set more priority. So this is the image generated by the diffusion model where no weight is given to any object. Now in the second image, maybe the user wants to give more priority to boy. Okay, so there are boy is generated two times. You can see a boy is generated two times. In the third image, more priority is given to the Christmas pie than the boy. So the Christmas pie is bigger. Okay, here there is only one boy because boy has less priority, but the Christmas pie is much bigger. Okay, so then in the third, you can see the Christmas pie and the plum are having more priority. So this way now we are giving more power to the user, and in the prompt only user can specify some weight to each object. And then this weight in the background, how we are manipulating the image generation. So basically we are changing the attention heat map of the diffusion models. Okay, so basically these weights are multiplied with the attention heat maps of the diffusion model, and accordingly it changes the production of the image. Okay, so we are manipulating the attention heat maps of the diffusion model as per the weights given by the user, and that way we are manipulating the image generation process. So this is our last year ENLP paper, okay, where we are modifying the images for poems in a zero shot setting using the weighted prompt manipulation. So so these are some of the works in the poem visualization, and we are also working in the financial NLP. Okay, one of my PhD student is working in the financial NLP. Fintech is a very important area, and there are many NLP applications in the financial domain. And fintech enhances the accessibility, reduces the cost, increases the transparency, and improves the speed and efficiency of the financial services. And there is we need to again process the multilingual data, because many of the users queries are multilingual, or in the financial sector also users are putting many complaints which are multilingual in nature. We are extracting the insights from the transactions and power intelligent conversational agents. So there are many benefits: improves personalized financial advice, automates customer support, detect fraud, and enables smarter context aware decision making. So this way, in the financial sector, if you are working applying in the NLP, then it will help in faster and clear financial guidance, multimodal understanding of text, video, or images data. So we have done several works in the financial NLP also. One is to understand the user complaints. Whenever suppose there is a transaction failure, or some banking related problems, the users used to write in the users used to make some complaints. Okay, there are many financial complaints, and we need to understand what are the reasons behind the complaint. So there is a multitasking based explainable financial complaint mining module that we have proposed. Then we have also proposed some complaint mining when suppose a person is conversing with a chatbot. Okay, so then there is a long context. Maybe the person has described the context in previous utterances, and now you have to consider the previous utterances into account, and then you have to understand what is the reason of the complaint. Okay, so how to identify the complaint from the conversation, that is also we that is our recent work that we have done. And here we have also incorporated the concept net. Concept net is the common sense knowledge that we have integrated, and then we have solved the common sense infused complaint analysis from the conversations. Then in many cases you have many financial videos, and sometimes we need to understand it, people are uploading some complaint in the form of videos. So understanding complaint from the videos is also very difficult, and also on which aspect the person is complaining. So this is, we have also solved the problem of financial complaint mining from the videos. Then another important task is, sometimes suppose you in the, especially in the rural areas, people are getting some damaged product, but maybe they are not able to articulate the complaint properly. So can we generate a complaint generation module, like maybe they have uploaded a only the defected product image or video. So now from this video, can we generate a complaint? So it is the complaint generation module from the video. So people already has to upload the defected product video, and from the defected product video, we need to generate the complaint. Then we are also generating some financial advisory video summarization with the multimodal output, because there are many podcasts available nowadays. Many people are giving us the financial advices, and we are confused which one to see. So there are many podcasts available. So can we generate a summary from these different podcasts? Then one another important task is the common sense infused multimodal conversational agents. So can we develop a chatbot which can simply chat with us and provide us some financial advices? So this is our last year European conference on AI work. So and now we have also started working on the financial reasoning. Like in the financial sector, there are many complex problems. Like for example, some financial problem solving, or the income tax calculation, or some math related problem in the financial sector, in the e-commerce sector. So whether the recent language models can solve these problems, and that too when we are asking these questions in different Indian languages. Like we collected the data from various financial books or the financial question papers, and then we translated the data set in many of the Indian languages, and then we have tested whether the language models can understand these, can solve these questions properly or not, can generate the answers, and also the reasoning traces in properly or not. This is our very recent paper accepted in this year SCL, where we have generated 1800 900 such samples, and the languages we have selected is English, Hindi, Bengali, Marathi, Gujarati, Tamil. And and then we have also used some rewards, and basically we found out that mostly language models are not very good in financial reasoning problem solving. So there is a task, how can we improve the financial reasoning power of these financial language models? So for that we have used the GRPO based training. So GRPO is the reinforcement learning based method. So we have used many reward functions, and by using these reward functions, we try to improve the financial reasoning power of these language models. So yeah, so these are some of the tasks, and then we are also working on understanding the idioms. There are many idioms for each language, and idioms are having different different meaning. Okay, their surface meaning and the appropriate meanings are very different. So we really want to understand whether the language models understand these idioms correctly or not. So for that also we have created 3,533 samples in three different languages: Hindi, Bengali, and Thai. And then we have created their appropriate meaning, and then we have trained, fine tuned the language models so that their idiomatic understanding can be improved. Yeah, so I think I need to stop now. So I really would like to say that my research lab is working on, we are working on various fields of, multimodal information processing. And we are mostly focusing on how to fuse the text, image, and video data for solving many different tasks of natural language processing. So we are solving many tasks of healthcare domain, finance domain, and also my newsware domain. And I have already shown you in this particular talk some tasks of healthcare domain and also financial sector, poem visualization, like cultural space, etc. And in conclusion, so we are not only developing models, small language models, and many other reasoning models, but we are also developing many data sets, and these data sets are freely downloadable from my web page. And our main vision is to make AI inclusive, because India is a multilingual country. There are many official languages in India, and if you want to use AI in the Indian perspective, then we really need to make AI inclusive, multilingual, and that is our main vision. Building AI that is not just for some languages or communities, but for every voice, every region, and every culture. So these are some of the survey papers that we have written. We have written a survey on prompt engineering. This is very highly popular. This is having around 2,000 citations. We have also written a survey on hallucinations, and we have also written a survey on vision language models. And this is my group. All these works are because of my students. I owe it, like really my all these works are possible because of my students help. And there are many PhD students, masters, and the bachelor students who are part of our research group, Drisha. And there are many sponsors of our research group, who have supported us by providing us many research projects. And these are some of the papers, recent papers that we have published. You can also visit our webpage and see the publications. And finally, I would like to thank you all for listening to me in a multilingual way. Sir, if there is any question, I can take.
Any questions? If any queries are there, either you can ask here or you can directly contact to ma'am. All of you requested, I'm requesting all of you just visit the site of ma'am and the Disha Labs. Okay, so what are the repositories are available, you can also use, because it's open access. And if any queries are, Lipika ma'am, any questions are there from your side? I think he's not there. Okay, ma'am, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Satya
Yes.
sir. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I think you are at Thailand now, na?
Yeah, I am now in Thailand. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. You just
Yeah.
complete
Thank
your
you.
tax
Thank
and
you.
come back,
Thank you.
then we'll talk.
Bye.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Bye. Bye. Bye.